about the part of the world where I'm coming from the Balkans, Southeast Europe, or ex-Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia. Usually, the most violent riots between football clubs happens when they are playing with the different ethnic groups or with different religion background. For example, the most violent fights in former Yugoslavia were between the Serbs clubs and the Croats clubs, especially when they play Red Star Belgrade with Dinamo Zagreb, or Partizan from Belgrade with Dinamo Zagreb, or Hajduk from Split. Also, which is very interesting, is those intra-ethnical conflicts or violence between the groups. For example, you will see like two clubs playing from Belgrade, for example, Partizan and Red Star. They are same nationality, same religion. They are Serbs, but they are fighting, beating each other, till death. So, let's say violence and that approach towards watching the football and all those hooligan groups are, let's say, maybe would be very bad, but it's a part of the tradition in football, And still, former Yugoslavia and all other countries have problems with such a big riots. Last year, qualifying game in Italy between Serbia and Italy was shut down because spectators from Serbia made a big incident in Italy. The brightest example how you should, for example, stop all those cuts in football matches is England. Last 20 years they invest a lot in fighting against football hooliganism. They have special police forces. They use a lot of cameras. And for example, like if you are a well-known hooligan, it's impossible for you to stadiums to watch a football match. But before I continue speaking, we will see just a few short links. This is from one excellent documentary. It's made by Discovery about the football hooliganism in all around the world. So this is about ex-Yugoslavia. I will, ask you one question, in which I will try to answer later, like how it's now in this kind of situation. How can you, as a journalist, be objective and do your job? So you can be objective. You can be, true journalist there when nobody's guarantee you your safety and that kind of things. So, like I said, usually the violence between football clubs is like because of their background. Like Tavi said to me, you all already know that the football clubs are highly connected with the community from which they came from. So, for example, every football club has, let's say, different background. Usually, the violence and riots between football fans are based on religious differences, ethnic differences, and on the different background from social background. Something very interesting thing, which they don't usually mention here, is that these groups are very, very well connected with crime and with some political parties. Like you see them, they were having guns, drugs. They are very, very, very connected with, let's say, with crime and that kind of things. So it's sometimes political parties and some powerful people use them just for doing their agenda. So here you can very easily mix the true football fans and somebody who is there just to make trouble and to get attention or to fulfill his gains from that match. And another very important thing I should mention to you is the poverty. Sometimes the poverty is maybe the main reason why there is football riots on matches. Like I said earlier, for example, Partizan from Belgrade, they are kids. Red Star Belgrade, they should be like low-class kids. So there's a different background. I mentioned to you earlier that I had a couple of incidents while I was working for 1 year in a daily newspaper. In Macedonia, we had like a daily sport newspaper, and I was working as a correspondent from my hometown. So I had a couple of incidents, and then I said to myself, like, I will quit this job. It's not worth, to be all the time under stress, somebody to threaten you, that kind of things. I said, like, no more. First incident was during the game between Shkendia, that's the mostly Albanian club from Tetovo, and one club from Bitova, which is Macedonian, let's say, like Macedonian club. They are like 99% of players Macedonians. So, referee just gives some suspicious decision. I made a statement, I put a headline like, maybe there wasn't a penalty kick, something like that. And the next time when I go on the stadium just to get the list of the players, the official statistic from the match, the man who was working there asked me like, you are the correspondent for Makedonski Sport? And I said, yes, just wait a minute here. And in 1 minute, there was like 100 people in the small room and everybody was yelling at me, like, how could you write that against us? You are like a liar. And I said like, I just wrote what I saw. I saw that the penalty kick was suspicious. And it was just, I think, it was just seconds before they were they were like, I was expecting that they would start to, a few policemen and, everything went okay. And after that you have like couple of months, everybody's looking you under the eye. So you should like question yourself twice. Should I write this as I saw it, as I think it's correct or not? So it's very, very hard to be decent and objective journalist in that kind of situation. And the second incident was during one volleyball game. I was like, writing the points, that kind of thing, writing the actions, what was happening on the field. And one of the leaders of the group, he was like watching at me and saying like, why are you writing? And I was like, I'm a journalist. No, you are from, our handball association. You are like writing here and you want to punish the club. You're just writing what we are saying and that kind of things. Because basically, what they are saying is like a highly offensive language. Like, they are on ethnical, racial background, on religious background, they are trying to curse each other. So that's the first part. Anyone got questions about this?
What exactly are when all these riots happen? What is the protection of the players? Do they just immediately get them out of there? Or?
There is no protection of the players.
Really?
Usually players are beaten too. I was just a witness once. One player, just a second to finish. Last year, before I came here, I was like in Teto, and one black player from Gabon, he was like player for their national team, was beaten on field. Couple of spectators hit him, then the player from the opposite team hit him, and while he was going inside, one of the, let's say, organizers of the match who is connected with the home club, he hit him too. So it was like, what's happening? And the funniest thing is like, next second you have like 20, 50, 30 people coming upstairs to the journalist and saying like, give me the cassettes, what you record. And you're like, we didn't record nothing. Give me the cassettes. Give me the cameras. There should be no evidence of the beating.
Really?
Yes. So it's very important to be in very good connection with the spectators, with the groups. If you lie, it would be bad. He first.
How are the riots stopped?
Usually police. After a few mistakes that they were made in Macedonia, in my hometown, some matches that is obviously that will be from high tension, that are very, very, very hard to play. They usually don't, in the beginning, they didn't send special forces. They were sending like regular police officers, which is impossible to stop 500 people from one side and 200 people from the other side when they want to beat each other. So after that, they started to send special police forces, like heavily equipped with bulletproof vests, everything. And after that, usually they're trying to separate two opposite groups and try to send them in the center of the town, like how can I say, to destroy them, not to destroy them physically, but to disperse them, yes. Okay. So let's continue with what I found on internet about what British used to do. Like one of way back, one of the mostly, how can I say, negative comments were about the British press. They were accused that they have been criticized for their xenophobic approach to the coverage of international matches and tournaments. It may be no coincidence that England fans tend to be the most violent in this context. These tendencies were particularly part during the Euro 96 championship, when at least one tabloid newspaper represented the England-Germany match as a resumption of the Second World War. So you can see how much tension can journalists bring in one football match. I'm sure that there is still high negative feelings between Germany and England towards the Second World War. And when journalists go and say like, okay, this is like, resumption of the Second World War, it's like, putting oil on fire, putting gasoline on fire. So that's the responsibilities of the journalists, to be objective, but in the same time not to provoke incidents. And in this case, journalists in a lot of cases know to be provoking incidents. I can give you examples from my hometown. Usually journalists from some newspapers, they are like provoking the incidents, writing biased things, not 100% checked facts. Like, for example, the referee for the next match is on the payroll of the opposite team. Nobody knows that. They don't check that fact. But with that information put in the public, what do you need more from someone who is only, who have only one thing in his head, to fight? He will say like, okay, I have now, I have reason why to fight. They are like, this match is not 100% clear. The referee has been paid by the opposite team. Or, like I told you earlier, there were still a lot of campaigns by the UEFA and FIFA. In Britain, racist chanting at matches still occurs, but at nowhere near the level it reaches in 70s and 80s, when black players were often greeted with monkey noises and bananas. That was what was happening in Britain. Similar incidents happens now in former Yugoslav countries, but not in this level as it happened in Britain. The recent decline may be due in part to campaign designed to combat racism, such as Let's Kick Racism Out of Football campaign. Like I told you earlier, the couple of reasons why the riots on football matches happens is like the different ethnic background and the different social and political background. For example, in Germany and Austria, there are some indications that the problem may be more persistent. In one survey, 20% of German fans reported sympathies with the neo-Nazi movement. In many cases, however, Nazi symbols and slogans may be used purely to shock and provoke, without any underlying political conviction. So my point of view by saying this example is that the violence is not only, how can I say, problem in Balkans. This is happening in all around the world. You have like South America, you have in Europe, like I told you, Great Britain or England, you have example like Germany, France, countries who are very well developed. But it's the same case. If you don't fight against the racism and and hooliganism from the primary schools, it's very hard to fight this evil in sports. The approach taken by the British authorities to reduce football hooliganism has been largely reactive, increasing sophisticated policing, surveillance and monitoring techniques, segregation of funds, restriction of alcohol, etc. The British government has also introduced specific legislation to cover acts of hooliganism. So, like I told you earlier, you need define and will to fight against hooliganism. You need education, you need organizing from the government, from the state. I will tell you some other, let's say, examples from this where in my country fights were happening all the time in the beginning, when all the tension was passing out, in the beginning of the independence of Macedonia in 95, 2000. Change, In that period, every town has one or two major clubs, and every club has his own firm. But during the period when some firms are starting to have examples like, the firm from Varda, from Skopje, committee, will be friends with a Macedonian club from Tetox, and they are a firm Vojvodin. And they usually go out on, let's say, on some third town when one of the team is playing. So they will cheer together one team against the opposite team. So you have that kind of things like organizing themselves in the bigger groups. It's important, like I mentioned to you earlier, that a lot of these groups are used in crime activities and in political, let's say, by political parties. One of the commanders of the special forces in Macedonian police during the war in 201 in Macedonia. Now he is in Hague, convinced, and he is there still. And he was the leader of the group committee from Skopje. And it's the same from the opposite team. You have like extreme nationalists who are a part of some other firms. They are like part of crime and that kind of things. So they are very well connected. I told you, usually politicians use them to fulfill their daily needs. If they want to happen some crisis, so they can use it in everyday bargain with the other politicians, they will just provoke their group to make a big tension on some football match. And you can use that. And they will say like, oh, you can see the situation is not okay there. We need to change the Minister of Interior, or we need to change the government. And they will start saying like, whoa, look what happened. And that thing is very bad, because it gives a bad influence on football. And that's why you can't have a good football clubs, because they are too occupied with, with the fans and with their, how can I say, needs and stupid things. Questions?
Would you say like hooliganism is mostly in Europe, or is it also in like Africa or like South?
Everywhere.
Africa?
Everywhere.
Why would you say it's not in the United States? Just because it's not the same passion?
Why? About the soccer, I don't know why. Maybe you don't have a passion about the soccer or football. But as I've seen, I'm still, to be honest, positively impressed by that. I was on a couple of Bradley matches. I was on a rugby match, American football match, and for me it was very funny when I see like. They were like
fun.
Yes, they were saying one to each other and they were cheering for the opposite team, and I was like, this couldn't happen way back home. It would be like after this they will be like beating each other. It's impossible to sit one to each other. Maybe it's a thing of maybe you look to this only as a how can I say, entertainment. You don't get it so serious. Maybe that's the question. I don't know. This is like a question for some sociologist, or I don't know, that kind of professors. But I was very positively impressed here when I was on a couple of matches. I don't know why, but it's good. I hope that that virus from Europe won't come here about fighting on sports events, and that would be very fun if I see that. Croatia were a part of former Yugoslavia. So after the civil war, when it happened between them, it's impossible to see a Croat player playing in Serbia or Serbian player playing in Croatia. It's impossible. They are still hating each other.
In clubs, you mean, right? In clubs.
Yes, in clubs. And during the big matches between the national teams, they are very, very highly risk matches, because the wounds are still fresh from the Civil War, and they hate each other from their guts. I was just giving to Ricky one documentary movie about two NBA players who came from former Yugoslavia, Vlade Divac, who was LA Lakers and Sacramento Kings player, and Dražen Petrovic. He's from Croatia, and he was from Yugoslavia too, and he played in New Jersey Nets. They were like the best friends, brothers. They grew up together, but because of the Civil War in Yugoslavia, their friendship was broken. So it was interesting documentary, and you can see he's like showing up in Zagreb after 20 years. It's the first time Vlade Divac is showing up in Zagreb after 20 years. He's going to visit Dražen Petrovic's mother because he died in a car accident. he's going there, and a couple of people are noticing him like on the street, and they're like watching, what is he doing here? How can he walk on the street? And only one of them just go to him and say like, hey, hi, maybe we still have some disagreements, but I respect how you play. So, it's very different from your perspective because, like I told you, the main reasons for the violence in football are religion, ethnic background, and social background. So you don't have such a drastical things here. I told you the one example. It would be like you have in Peoria two clubs who are playing, for example, football, soccer, and in one club should be like mostly where black people cheer, play, and the other would be where mostly white people. And that would be like the basic of starting the incidents. That's what it's in that part of the world.
Not here, but there.
Yes, it's here now, and that's why I'm happy about it.
Can I give an example?
Yes,
May I?
yes.
Before I came here, when I was going out, I like soccer, So, and I have favorite teams, but at the same time, if I was going out wearing a scarf for my favorite team, I was afraid. I never did it. Because I didn't know who I would meet on the street, and they would beat me up, and I'm not that powerful, so I can fight them.
That's the same.
Yeah.
That's the same. For example, you have places in a town where you usually go, where the fans of one team usually go and the fans of the other team usually go. That's how it's going. So can we see just another video?
Sure, my dear sir. You tell me. Open this. That one? This one? This one?
Okay, open this.
I don't know
So,
which one.
okay. So this video, what we will see now is from my hometown. These are the Dukes, Vojvodi. They are cheering the Macedonian team, let's say. So this is like 20 years. Preparing themselves before the match.
Having a barbecue.
Yes, and alcohol. Yes. Can we just see one video from here? The list.
Should I start this one?
Yes. As you can notice, they are mostly young teenagers. Usually the leaders of the firms, the hooligans, are grown up. Like I told you, they usually have their black businesses going, like you see earlier, drugs, weapon. They usually do racket, like, taking money from the coffee bars, that kind of things. So it's very, very, very connected with crime. So now you will see this. So this is,
Tetex?
yes. So this was the clubs from my hometown, Tetex and Skandia. Like I told you, this is the news story. Cancel. Go cancel. I'm thinking. Yes. Play.
This is the...
Неколку инциденти и тензична атмосфера, навреди и вулгарни скандирања на меѓуетничка и верска основа го одбележа денешниот натпревар меѓу прволигашите Тетекс и Шкендија. Напнатост и нетрпеливост кај навивачките групи војводи и балисти имаше од самиот почеток на надпреварот. Додека траеше дербито, навивачите извикуваа навезливи зборови едни кон други. Невообичаено беден надпревар, дури и судијата за време на полувремето од безбедностни причини беше преживувано
For the referee.
По завршувањето на
Referee,
мечот,
yes.
излегувајќи од
Let's see.
стадионот, навивачите на Штендија почнаа да фрлаат со камења кон полицијата. Стотиците специјалци успеа да ги растираат навивачите. Оштетени се неколку објекти во околината на стадионот. Иако таборот на двата тима најавуваа дека денеска во Тетово ќе победи фудбалот, сепак не беше така. Дербито заврши со победа на Тетекс од 1-0. И на овој натпревар требаше да се одигра во саботата, но од безбедностни причини беше одложен за денеска.
So this incident happened just after I came here in Peoria. It was like last year, August, May, somewhere. So you see, usually when the match is finished, they are going out, throwing rocks. Special police forces are put to separate them. And usually during their walk towards their home, the center of the town, I don't know, because there are mainly, let's say, Muslim neighborhoods and mainly Christian neighborhoods. So when they are moving the Muslims leaders, Muslims fans through the Muslim neighborhoods, it's okay. But if they move through Christian neighborhoods, they start, sometimes throwing rocks on houses, windows, cars, that kind of things.
Is there no security at like any of the gates to get into the
Yes,
complex?
yes, the security is not so good. Usually the security is people from the stadium, people from the clubs. So they want to have their fans to have a lot of fireworks. They don't do, very good search. So you can easily put them inside. Second option is day before the match. You go in the stadium, find a way. How? You hide the fireworks in the place where your firm will be, and everything is okay, secured. You have
Able
fireworks.
to just walk into the stadium the day before the match?
Yes, they are not so very well controlled, like I told you. You have a lot of gaps that you have filled them so you can prevent this kind of incidents. But the funniest thing is that you have impression that this kind of incidents are okay for some people. Maybe somebody is having some benefit from these incidents. It's easy to keep the people separated while you are, doing high politics. That's one of the arguments. If all of you travel in Italy, in Milan, if you have opportunity to watch some match there, you will see how it is.
They don't want me coming anymore. They will stay home now.
No, don't. If you on which match will they go?
No, it's Milan Bari, no.
Milano Bari. Okay, it's not. But if it was like a Milano Inter Milan, that would be very tension.
Cool though.
Although, like I said earlier, Lazio, the football club from Rome, they're like very well connected to the, with neo-Nazi parties and neo-Nazi symbols. For example, one of their best players was all the time saluting like Sieg Heil, and it was a big problem. A lot of time people are, coquetting, I don't know the word in English. They are
flirting with?
Yes, they are flirting with the extremist symbols, with negative things about their past, and that kind of things to provoke incidents. It's like, in the basic, it's just a human behavior. But in this case, which is very worst, is that it gives a bad image on football, like that say. For me, it's not the result. We don't go for a match. We go just to beat each other. And he calls himself a football fan, which is for me disgusting.
He actually said it, right?
Yes,
The guy,
he said
we have our own game or our own match.
Yes, we have our own game, our own match. We are there just to fight. So, if you want to be sports journalist in Europe, especially in Balkans, please don't be. If you want, we can just continue with one video.
Sure.
So you will see now what, like I told you, usually some of the...
We saw already.
Yes. Play this. The leaders of the opposite firms, they want to be friends with each
The
other.
most important for us is Partizan. For us, football is life. We are fighting for the name Partizan and Grobnik.
By kick-off time, the huge police presence has so far been successful in keeping the fans apart. But that is no guarantee that the game will pass off without a serious incident. At this ground in 1999, a shipping flare was fired from the Grabari end into the Delhi Air, killing Red Star fan Alexander Radovich. And in the year 2000, one of the most serious disturbances occurred at Red Star's ground, as hundreds of fans fought a pitched battle. In this riot, the Grabari attacked one of their own directors, hospitalising him, whilst the Delhi Air attacked the partisan coach, slashing his face with a knife. But today the game's passed off peacefully. In fact, there's not been much action at all. Danny has one last appointment in the former Yugoslavia. He's about to get up close and very personal with the Grabari. Yep, that's right, the mob with the guns. Danny's right in the middle of their territory, and very much off his.
I mean, this is the ghetto where I'm meeting them now. It's like a little betting shop, it's like a bar betting shop type place. I'm currently all plotted outside. I think I can see them actually.
In his quest to find international football hooligans, Danny has found himself on the back streets of Belgrade, where he's going to meet one of Serbia's most infamous firms. They're called the Grabari Alcatraz, and they follow partisan Belgrade.
Tell me a bit about, obviously, your relationship with Red Star.
Every time when we see them, there is a fight. It is no need to be a football match, basketball match, or any other match against these two clubs.
So you go to watch basketball?
Football is a very, low quality.
Okay.
So the basketball, we were many times champions of the world.
Okay.
And it's a better atmosphere.
So when it's not kicking off at the football, they go to the basketball. Partizan and Red Star both have basketball teams. This is the derby from June 2006. Trouble started in the stands. The police stormed the Red Star section and several fans fell down a staircase. More than 100 people were injured.
How do you feel about the clubs from Croatia?
No, they miss them. We miss them, especially our friend Žarko.
Listen now.
The story they are about to tell Danny about one of their older guys, Jare, is both shocking and unbelievable. They claim that in the late 80s, the leader of the Torcida came to Belgrade as a guest of the Grabari.
And after 5-4 drinks, he started to blabber.
But for shooting his mouth off, he had to pay a forfeit. They took him to the grave of a partisan legend and demanded that he kiss it.
He said, kiss to the grave. I don't want.
What allegedly happened next is shocking. These guys claim to have committed the ultimate act of humiliation and domination over their rivals. It's time for Danny to leave.
You should not hear the humiliation act.
That's what happened. Just to finish my speaking about the football and violence, or it should be like sports and violence, although this is a football class, it will be like, if you are a journalist, it's impossible to be objective. You will have to sacrifice your dignity and your professionalism, or you will have to move out of the job. The first and the second, the background of all the incidents are religious, ethnic, or social differences. And if sometimes there is no difference in religion, if they are like both Christian or Muslims, both teams. If there are no difference in ethnic background, like they are both, for example, Serbs, like Partizan and Belgrade, there is a difference in social background. And that's what they're using it to put a strict line between them and to start fighting. And like you see, they are using like basketball matches, football matches, everywhere, just to beat each other. And that's what gives a bad name to the soccer or football.